So we are welcoming Chandan Singh, our special speaker in our faith series this month. We're so glad to have you, a practitioner of the Sikh faith here in Napa, to teach us a little bit about what the experience of that faith is like and how it's shaped you in your life. So we're just so thankful for having you and for the opportunity to gather together and learn.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. In this case, we'll be learning together because Sikh, the root of the name, the word itself is student, a student who learns. So the belief is that you are always the student and there's only one teacher, which is God. So that's why Sikh means learn, to learn. So my background is in, I was born in Sikhism. Only my grandparents were really like hardcore. They practiced Sikhism. My parents were okay, but so Sikhism is actually a discipline, a faith, a way of life. Anybody can be Sikh as long as you follow the rules. Discipline itself. It has boundaries and certain rules that you live by. And yeah, oh, there you go. Okay, so this is the inside of a temple. Michelle found this picture. It resembles somewhat El Sobrante, the Gurudwara, the temple on in Richmond, I think, right? Yeah, in Richmond, El Sobrante. So just the really basic stuff. We believe in Vaheguru. Vaheguru is basically, it's a Guru mantra. I know a lot of people spell mantra mantra. That's just the British way of saying mantra, but it's mantra, mantar, mantra. Anyway, so Guru mantra is, how you pronounce it is Vaheguru, Vaheguru. So Wah basically is wow, and it's the experience or the bliss, if you will, that you get when you realize the euphoria that you get from your spiritual freedom. So you can do drugs and all the things, you still get euphoric, but that only lasts temporary. The euphoria that you get from knowing yourself, knowing God, is everlasting. So we chant Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. So how you do is you say Wah, Hey is in your belly, Gu in your throat, and in your head is basically on your mind. The 10th door is the Ru. So Wah, He, Gu, Ru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru. It's basically getting to know your body the spiritual way. So going back to like when the faith started was with Guru Nanak Dev Ji. He was one of the first leader who started the Sikhism. Before it was only Islam and Hinduism in India predominantly. And he refused to follow those things. There were a lot of things that people did. He basically made human out of those people, because in Hinduism, only Brahmin, who are actually the priest caste, the caste system, first of all, could hear and read the scriptures. Nobody else was. I mean, if you were found listening, they would melt coin, silver, and put it in your ear so you cannot ever hear again. And on the other side, Islam's, they had some scriptures that, how to demean Hinduism. So it was like a whole bunch of like injustice, basically. So he started Sikhism with so you see how people are sitting on the floor, like everybody is equal except God. God is above you. So if you come into his sanctuary, you're equal, male, female, you name it. So we had 10 gurus: Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Angad Dev Ji, Amar Das, Ram Das, Arjun, Guru Arjun, Har Gobind. I'm just naming a few. And the 10th Guru was Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Before he left, he actually gave all the essence, the teachings to Guru Granth Sahib, which is the holy book, if you will, the word of God himself. It's compiled. As I mentioned, Sikh is a student. It means student. Identify ourselves as student of Vaheguru. Vaheguru is the name of God. So God doesn't really have a name. We just call him Vaheguru. It's the essence. It's the understanding of there is an energy that actually is God. What was before God? Nothing. That's why we call. I don't think we put a slide of Ik Onkar.
We did.
We did. Okay, next. All right.
We have Mool Mantra.
Oh, we have Mool Mantra. So, well, Sikhism. So when you go to the temple, you can see like what Sikhism is. Sikh believes in one God, Vaheguru. They worship in Gurdwara, which is the temple, door to the Guru. Guru is the teacher, and Dwara means the door itself. Sikh believes in equality between class, race, religion, and gender. Sikh also believes in performing seva, which is community service, and it's altruistic. So you just do it because it's a good thing to do. We also believe that the more dishes you wash, the more sins you're washing away from your own soul. So doing seva, polishing shoes, feeding the poor, anybody 24/7 can come to the temple for free food and free sanctuary. That's why I don't think we put Nishan Sahib. Nishan Sahib is about 50 feet, up to 20 to 50 feet tall flag that has a khanda on top, and it's like orange. So you can always identify where a Gurdwara is, where the Sikh temple is, based on the Nishan Sahib. So it basically tells people, hey, if you're hungry, come over. If you need shelter, come over. If you just want to hang, come over. So yeah, the most common form of seva is in the langar hall, cooking, dishing. Michelle herself actually made a lot of tortillas and roti, that's what we call. And you don't have to be a Sikh to visit, and you can come to the temple anytime you want, and just if you need peace and quiet. It's basically a praying room in a hospital, if you will. Like you just need to be alone, you can come there. Multi-purposes. Let's see, what's the next? All right, so a baptized Sikh would have 5 Ks. The K is Gada, which is a bracelet. Let me see if I can. There you go. There's a bracelet. I usually wear a thick one. So it's basically a lot of people like tell you different things, like what does it represent. First of all, it's supposed to be Sarablo, which is 100% iron. And any person who has a deficiency, it also works as medicinal purposes. I mean, serves as medicinal services. So Kada, it represents the handcuff, basically saying restraining you from doing bad things to other. It's a reminder. Yes, people do need a reminder. And there's a comb, a wooden comb, and it's like, I actually have it under my turban, so it's supposed to be touching your hair. So Kesh is the hair itself. Kirpan is a spiritual sword, so I carry that all the time with me. It's just hidden under clothes, and right now I'm having a hard time finding it because it's, there you go. Here you go. So it's, let me stand up. Here you go. So it's just a kirpan. It's like a sarblo. So a lot of people carry utility knife. And we carry this for protection of ourselves and protection of people who actually need it, in need. I don't know any case in the entire world that actually people have used that for, funsies or whatever. Kachara, kachara is a long string-drawn underwear. It's supposed to be made out of cotton, represents chastity. Okay, visiting a Gurdwara. Actually, I'm gonna let Michelle lead this because she made this slide. she's super proud of it too.
No, I took a lot of the snark out. So if you want to visit a Gurdwara, you do not need another Sikh to take you, although Chandan and I would be very happy to accompany any of you who would like to go and visit one.
We did that, right? Yeah.
We did that for the Methodist Church, but we've also brought other friends to the temple just to check it out as well. So the Gurdwara is open to anybody regardless of their faith, gender, race, gender expression. You're welcome to come in, and you don't need permission to go in. We do recommend that you bring a headscarf that you're comfortable wearing. So most of the time women will wear like just a scarf. And I recommend finding one with a fabric that kind of Velcros itself together a little bit, because if you go fancy and you wear some like silky scarf to cover your head, it's an art to wear a headscarf. And it took a long time for me to figure out how to do it and not just get choked. So if you don't have a headscarf, then they do have bandanas that are called rumalas that are available for anybody to wear at the temple. They have a washer and dryer at all of the temples too, so you won't be picking up somebody else's blessings and critters when you wear it. We recommend that you bring $1 if you would like to for tithing purposes, and then wear modest and comfortable clothing that you feel comfortable sitting on the floor in. So just do like a quick test where if you sit on the floor, then your whole body's covered basically. I think in England they say mind the gap. So
they do have benches and tables in the back for elderly who actually have problem with the ankles or knees, so they can just sit like Western people instead of sitting on the floor. But you can always choose to sit up or down. It's up to you.
Yeah, and they won't check your birth date on your ID if you sit in the back too. So if you're not feeling good, or you don't necessarily have to be elderly to sit back there. They'll leave you alone if you choose to sit in those places. The whole purpose of sitting on the floor, like what Chandan mentioned before, is just that everybody in Sikhism is considered equal. It's really important that everyone, just because the caste system was and still is such a discriminatory system, they wanted to make sure that nobody that approached the faith was seen as more or less than someone else. So everybody sits on the floor as a sign of equality. When you show up, then we ask that everyone take off their shoes. If you forget to take off your shoes, don't worry, there will be some auntie running around after you reminding you to take your shoes off. Cover your head and then wash your hands. And they do have some temples also have stations where you can wash your feet too. And then when you go to the temple, we recommend visiting the sanctuary first, although there's no strict format that you have to follow when you go into the temple. So we recommend that you visit the sanctuary first. You'll see a lot of people when they enter, they'll bow down in front of the holy book, and that's a representation of bowing down in front of God's light or God's wisdom. And then they offer the offering, which is for most people $1, although some people will put more into the tithe box. And then prasad, which is on the right-hand side of the screen, kind of towards the bottom, that is communion, and that's open to anyone to take. So one of the things as an interfaith couple that we often have a challenge with is that I can go into the temple and take prasad, and nobody's making sure that I'm Sikh because it's open to everybody. Prasad is communion, which is available for everyone. It's a blessing from God. And it's like a sweet wheat paste, and anyone can take it. When we go into Christian churches, I usually have to do a little bit of research ahead of time because Chandan is a baptized Sikh. I will never do anything to try to convert him to Christianity. And so some churches have open communion, some don't. Some are only open to the people who are baptized into that particular church. So we just kind of have to do a little sorting out between the two of us and research before we go in. But that's, an interesting thing about prasad is that it's open to everyone. And then services too. There is in a lot of times with Christianity, when they say that service time starts at 11 o'clock, it starts right at 11 o'clock. And if you show up 15 minutes late, you've missed part of it. At temples, they have services that will rotate. So there will be singing, and then they will read out of the holy book, and then there will be prayers, and then there will be a break, and then there will be singing, and then they will read out of the holy book and there's prayers. And it's this cyclical thing that in some places goes 23 hours a day, and in other places will start at like 6 o'clock in the morning and end at 9 o'clock at night. So you can enter at any time into the temple and take part in sanctuary worship. There are priests that live on site at the temple at all of the Sikh temples. And then you can leave at any time that you want to. So if you, like in our case, we used to stay for longer periods of time before we had a daughter. And now that we have a daughter, then we're usually in and out a lot more quickly when she gets bored and tries to climb onto things.
And nobody looks at you funny or weird when you're leaving at all. I mean, you can come as many times as you want inside the sanctuary and leave as many times as you want. So on usually Sundays, the service starts around 6 o'clock, which I was there today. So 6, and it ends at 9 o'clock. And then there's like a period of praying, which takes 10, 15 minutes. And then it goes until 2. And then, and between this time, you're entering the sanctuary because they have breakfast, and then you're going back to the sanctuary after breakfast, sitting, listening to more choirs, listening to more kirtan, and then going back again for lunch around 11 or 12, and then you're coming back again. So you can go as many times back and forth. And it's not like you're missing anything too, because they have speakers and screens in Langar Hall, in the mess hall. So you can, enjoy the service while you're enjoying this delicious food. And usually it ends, they do Pog. Pog is basically the ending of the service around 2 o'clock roughly. I'm talking about this El Sobrante Gurdwara Sahib or Fairfield Temple. That's what they do. And then the service will resume, the evening service will resume in the around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, depending if it's summer or winter. 5 o'clock, summer 6, and they will go up to like 8:30, and then do the same thing again. So the reason it starts at 6, Sikhs are advised and encouraged to wake up early. Amrit Vela starts. Amrit means means basically mrit means dead. So mrit is something that actually saves your soul. So Amrit Vela, it's like when you wake up, it starts after 12 p.m. Sorry, a.m. 12 a.m. So it starts at 12 a.m. So 12 a.m. till 4 o'clock, you can wake up anytime and start prayers. So I do 5 prayers in the morning and do 1 prayer in the evening and 1 prayer at night. And sometimes people are like, oh my God, so many prayers. How do you have time? You stop talking about other people. Stop wasting time in front of the TV. You would have so much time. And but it's encouraged to wake up. And like Amrit Vela, the early morning you wake up, there are barely any souls who are also up. So you can meditate. You can literally hear your thoughts rather than Facebook, Instagram, or somebody else around you talking. So you're encouraged to wake up early morning, do meditation, do your prayers, because another belief is like that's when the doors to heaven are open. So you can have one-on-one conversation with God because everything is calm around you, and you can converse, you can listen your thoughts, you can really hear the peace and quiet. So do prayers in the morning and 1 in the evening. Well, we are actually asked to, of course, to remember God. Doesn't matter what time it is, what day it is. You always remember God and thank God for everything that he or she has given to you.
Kind of the
Yeah.
last thing on like meditation, like what you were talking about in prayers before we move on from the visiting the temple slide. Children have access to all parts of the temple. They're generally not separated out from the other congregants when they're worshiping. They do have small periods of Sunday school where they teach them things like how to read, because it's a different language and things like that. But for the most part, children will literally run around the temple the entire service time. And I've actually spent some services where there's some random stranger's child just running circles around
yeah.
me. And kind of the answer to that is, instead of separating children out and saying, okay, guys, go to Sunday school, it's more of like
An exposure.
if you're having a hard time concentrating with these children running around you, then the expectation is that the adults will work on their meditation and focus skills because children will be children. Yeah. And we found that actually it's been a good way of kind of getting our own daughter interested in things about Sikhism as well. Is Chandan could go do his prayers in another room and separate himself from the family. But when he does prayers in the middle of the living room, then our daughter wants to go sit on his lap and read the book with him and cover her hair as well and mimic a lot of that stuff too. So children are a really important part of the worship service. There was a very famous Sikh worship musician that came to our area. And while he was doing the service, which is literally world class, I mean, the temple was packed when he showed up. There was this probably like 3-year-old child that walked up to a paper towel dispenser behind the platform where he was sitting. And for 10 minutes, probably, he was just going ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk. And so like almost in rhythm with the music, you've got the paper towel, like ka-chunk, 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 like, and nobody noticed, or if they did, they didn't care.
Fun times.
It's a very family oriented faith where children are encouraged and expected to be there as well as the parents.
That's it? Well, okay.
No, it's not it.
There
you go. All right, now you can talk about morning prayers.
All right, so as I mentioned, the morning prayers, by the way, the handsome guy in the picture is me. This was when we, after we got married, we went to the second marriage. We went to Amritsar. It was the holy place. The first picture that you saw, that was the Golden Temple. So this is a different part of the Golden Temple. So Nityanem, Nit means daily, basically, and name is literally the name, like saying God's name. So Nityanem is like daily worship through prayer. So in the morning I do Japji Sahib, Jap Sahib, Toy Prasad Savaiye, Chapai Sahib, Anand Sahib. In the evening I do Rahras Sahib, and before I go to bed I do Kirtan Soila. You are encouraged to do as many prayers as you can, but these are compulsory. The first 5 in the morning and 1 in the evening and 1 before bed. And it really does not take that long. Maybe 8 minutes for the one before I go to bed. Japji Sahib now, I can read within 20-25 minutes. Jap Sahib takes 35 minutes. So the big belief is the Japji Sahib actually gives you the knowledge of the universe. Jap Sahib gives you courage. Toy Prasad Savaiye it gives you like sorrow, basically the longing for God. Chapai Sahib is basically a request to God that's like save me, and Anand Sahib gives you peace. And Rahras Sahib is basically in the evening, and it's like anywhere, you can do it anywhere after the sun goes down. So that's what I was mentioning, either it's 5 o'clock in wintertime or summer, 6. I mean, sun doesn't go down until 7, 8, but we start around 6 o'clock. So worship through services, seva. Seva, as you, Michelle and I mentioned, is the community service you can do at the temple. Washing your sins away, basically. And Daswand is a big one too. Daswand it means 10%. So I was surprised to hear Mary Lee mention that even in Christianity, it is encouraged, like they encourage to take 10% out of your earnings. And I know some people get boggled about like, oh, it's before taxes, after taxes, just at least take 10% out. So the whole point is you take that 10% out and you give in community or to the church, and it goes to the places that really needs. You're supposed to do the same thing with the time too. You have 24 hours in a day. And if you do 2.5 hours of prayers, that will be giving 10% of your breath, basically the one that you breathe to God. So yeah, we're really big on 10%.
And then the thing about this fund too is that it's 10% towards things that help other people, not necessarily to the temple. So we do tithe and give to the temple, and we also tithe to our church as well. And then we also send some to the food bank too, just because the need has been particularly great this year. So it can kind of get split up in places where it's sort of most needed. Like one year, some of the disfund went to LGBTQ Connection. Where else have it gone? Like Sikh Net or Sikh Coalition.
Sikh Coalition,
yeah, which is like a team of lawyers that help Sikhs who've experienced hate crimes in the United States. So it just kind of goes to wherever there's a particular need that year.
Yeah. Kirtan is basically choir, singing and choir. And what is that? Singing time with the, Sangat, yes. Sangat is the choir. So believe is, if you say thank God on your own one time, that's one time. But when you sit with the congregation and say thank God, everybody's saying it with you. So your thanking of God gets multiplied by that many times, because everybody as a group thanking God. And I'm pretty sure everybody has noticed this too. Like when we go to church on Easter evening or Easter Sunday evening or before the Christmas Eve, right? Christmas Eve, and the atmosphere is amazing. It's just giving me goosebumps just thinking about it right now. At Methodist Church, you have lights, like dim lights, and like just amazing music, amazing people, and just sitting together and praying is just elevating. And that's the feeling that you get every day when you go to temple and do the same thing again and again and again. It's a kind of a addiction that you get used to, and then you want to go back to Sangat, which is your choir, your congregation.
Yeah, it kind of has the same power that like the Christian liturgical cycles do, where it's beautiful to go into a church and know that, churches all across the world, Episcopalian churches in your case, all across the world are following the same scriptures and thinking about the same things and the same messages related to God and spirituality. It's not just you sitting alone, it's being a part of a greater group of people that are meditating on the same thing. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Sangat, when you do kirtan, all the kirtan is basically singing. And the singing, we are not allowed to sing anything outside the holy book, because what's the holy book? I mean, what can be more true than God's words than somebody else's? So we just sing everything and anything from the holy book itself. Preaching will be from the holy book itself. Katha, which are actually stories, like what Guru did what, and how did this prayer came about, and how did he preach about this prayer, is also from the Guru Granth Sahib. So if anybody comes with a different song, would not be sang in the choir at all. It's basically, these are your words. I would choose God's verses over some guy who just came up with the lyrics. I mean, you can do it at home, for funsies, but not at the church, not at the temple. Let's see. Yep, that's me again. And it's like the only representative, the connection that I can make is the what guard they called at the Vatican City.
Oh, it's like the Swiss Army.
The Swiss Army. So we do have that, but it's in at the Golden Temple in Punjab.
And they're not Swiss.
And they're not Swiss,
as
yeah.
you can see.
So yeah, so how Sikhism have shaped my life is, well, of course I was born into it, but I really wish my parents would have encouraged me more getting involved in Sikhism. But it was my grandma who actually did the Mool Mantra, which will come next. I'll show you. Yeah, so like, how it saved me from getting into troubles, literally. I mean, the more time you spend in your religion, the less likely you to go to clubs, have fights with with people, getting drunk. Drinking is forbidden in my religion, especially after you're baptized, because it is a drug. Whether people believe it's like, oh no, I only do 1 glass at a day and that's it. Still, you're taking it's like a crutch. You're taking support of something that is only temporary. So you're encouraged to take God's name instead of, a glass of wine. I mean, yes, Merlot, Cab. I have tried every single one of them. Yeah, but I'm actually going back to strict practices. So I stopped drinking 3 weeks ago, I believe. Like
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like completely just like, because I knew where it was going. It could have, gone in a really bad direction. It's like, 1 glass and a half, 2 glass, So I it's just like, it's not worth it. And I was spending less time with them because I would come sit in front of the computer, have a glass of wine while I'm eating dinner, and just watch anime. It's like cartoons. I love cartoons. Anyway, so I would watch One Piece, Naruto, you name it, all. Yeah. But it's like, it's taking time away from her. And yes, after a long day, it's very, very relaxing, but you can also take a bath. You can get a massage from, we have a massage gun, you can use that. So different things, you can do a lot of different things, meditate, healthier things. So no gambling, there are a whole set of rules that how a baptized Sikh supposed to live by, abide by. And I think it's called Sikh Rehat Maryada. Rehat Maryada is to live, and Maryada is basically the boundaries. So it's the boundaries that you're supposed to live by, or the rules you live by. And the no drinking, no gambling. These things are like really bad. Cutting hair is another one. So Sikhs believe everybody is born as a Sikh,
which is a student.
Student. Yeah. So you're born as a Sikh. Doesn't matter which religion you are in. You're born as a Sikh because that's the purest form. If you really believe that God created you in his own image, then cutting your hair, styling your hair, you think you're going to make it better than what God created. So stay normal, stay natural. Of course, like beard, some people cut it, the different religions. My brother actually cut his beard and his hair when he was going to UC Berkeley, but I just kept it. I never shaved. And so yeah, it's like, but he was not baptized. He not supposed to, but he did what he had to do. Now he's growing his hair back. And anyway, oh hey monkey.
I switched the remote.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Yeah. So
the thing that I've noticed too about Sikhism, and Chandan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but because they identify as Sikhs or students, there are people who practice the faith at every single level. So some will just say that they're Sikh and that's it. Their life might not necessarily look more religious than anyone else. There are people who follow the faith so closely that they essentially live on temple grounds 24/7 and all they do is prayer.
Yeah.
There are some Sikhs we know who've cut their hair, others who eat meat or drink. And then there are some who don't do those things, and all of them are considered Sikhs because everybody's on their own individual
level, basically.
level, journey, study, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it.
And that's the goal is at the end of the day, you came alone and you're gonna go alone. There are two truths that truth that are believed in Sikhism. First is God, and second is death. Doesn't matter what's gonna happen. If you're born, you're gonna die. So the goal is not to take birth again, not to be born again. It's a hassle if you think about it. Sikhism believes there are 8.4 million species. What is it? 4.2 are in the sea, in the water, and other are on the land and the sky. But the whole point of being born as a man is you don't let dogs in the temple. You don't let any animals in any of the temples, because the only human being you have given brain, you are intelligent human being, like, natural beings. And the point is, so you worship God. Do not forget God. The whole point we are here on earth is to worship and thank God and cut the cycle of reincarnation, basically. So Sikhisms do believe in reincarnation, and so the goal is to pray and worship, so you are not born, your soul is not born. Somebody put it really nicely. It's like basically you are a cup of water or a glass of water in a sea. So once I put you back and take another, it's not exact same me, it will be something else. So that's the cycle. You came from God, you're going to go back to God, but if you're going to come out, you will be something else. And that's how reincarnation is, like, next time I could be a dog. So the whole point is to cut that cycle and be free. So it's, and also there's this big what do you call it, believe that your body itself is like a bus. You get in, you go to a destination, you get out, and that's it. The bus leaves. The bus doesn't go with you. So once you die, the only thing that can go with you is your good deeds, the name of God that you prayed, all the good deeds. The money will never go with you. The house will never go with you. The family will never go with you. So the belief is you can actually still stay in the family and worship God. Don't get attached to things that will be hard for you to leave, because when a lot of people pass, oh, my grandson, or my house, this and that, those things will never go with you. The only thing will go with you is your good deeds. So we are encouraged to not get attached to too many things, and stay happy in the things that you are given, because another belief is everything is set in destiny for you. You don't make anything. It doesn't belong to you at all. Money will go away. The house will go away, or it come back, but it's not constant. The only thing constant is God and death. So I think me personally realizing that and understanding, like, whatever will happen is already written in my destiny. So me worrying about that saves me bill from a psychologist and pills, literally, because I know if it's going to happen, something, if good happens, bad also happens. So if something bad is written in my life, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of good that also written, like Michelle in my life and the baby and you guys. I get to share this story with you guys and my faith. So the belief is everything is written in your destiny, and be happy in what you have, and thank God, literally, every day, all day, with every breath. And this is the Mool Mantra. So Ik Onkar is at the top,
If you want, I can read
Yeah, sure,
the
go ahead.
English.
Yeah.
No, you
No.
read the
So,
Punjabi.
Ik Onkar
There's one God
Satnam
whose name is holy,
Karta Purakh
the creator of all things,
Nirpau
without fear,
Nirvair
without hate,
Akal Murat
timeless and formless,
Ajuni
without birth,
Sabhang
without death,
Gurprasad
self-existing.
Jap
Meditate on the name.
Ad Sach
True before time,
Jugad Sach
true during the ages,
Hai Bhi Sach
true now,
Nanak Hosi Bhi Sach.
and Nanak declares forevermore will be true.
So yeah, that's the prayer. That's the Mool Mantra. Ik Onkar is basically there's one God, and a lot of people like in scholars, when Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the first guru, the first teacher, started this religion, he said Ik Onkar, because before people just did Ong, 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 and now Ong became Om in Hinduism. And when you did chanting of Om, Om, Om all the time, you only saw three gods, Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. And who created those? That was the question. And then when Guru Nanak Dev Ji came, he said there's only one. That's why he didn't put O-N-E. He put one, the letter, the number one, because one could be, ik means one. So, there could be many one things, but God is literally one. There was, what comes before one? Nothing. That's why self-existing. So we don't know. And it's not your job to find out what came before God, who gave birth to God. Our purpose on earth is to basically worship and follow in the footsteps of our religious gurus. And I mean, I didn't know this. Apparently, the connection between comparison, Michelle can talk more about it. Jesus during Passover.
Can you want to tell
3
a little
days.
bit more about?
Yes.
Yeah. So when Jesus died and then Jesus rose again, there was a period of time where he was absent from the world for 3 days or dead. So that's where we get the tradition of Good Friday and then Easter Sunday. And so for Chandan, there was a period of time when Guru Nanak, the first Sikh guru, actually was
the river.
Yeah, he was worshiping God at the river, and he entered into the waters and then didn't emerge until 3 days later. So there's actually and it was this rebirth moment where he's when he came back out of the water, then he had the light of God within him, and that's where he went on this journey of sharing God's light with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was interesting to me. And it's not like, we don't know God really is, but we know it exists. It's like wind, you can feel it. It can give you a chill, it can warm up your body, but you cannot see it. So that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Everything happens. Yeah.
We were also talking about this yesterday when we were writing the translation for the Mool Mantra, because we ended up writing this one ourselves just because a lot of translations sort of don't fully capture the meaning of the words in Punjabi. And when you get to chant or meditate on the name, that's when Chandan will say, you can say the word.
Oh, Vaheguru.
No, jap.
Oh, jap. Yeah, jap means basically chant.
Yeah, it means chant or meditate on and it means it in a way of meditate on the name of God or Vaheguru.
Yeah.
And in English, you have to say it in a very sort of long roundabout way to get to that, right? So chant, meditate on the name, and it actually changes the flow of the prayer. In Punjabi, it's really short. It's jap, and it's almost this startling, like stop, like think about it, where it forces you to pause before you go into the rest of the prayer. And that was something that we found really beautiful, is that it's this way of saying stop, pray, meditate, think about it, but it's such a short, almost like a a shock to the system that it's really effective in how it drives the flow of the prayer.
Yeah, from Ik Onkar until Guru Prasad, which is without death, self-existent, the one known as the grace, the Guru's grace. Until then, it explains what God is, and the little bit about God, but the main purpose is jap, and that's where it starts. Like, this is God, this is what I'm telling you to do. So after jap, after chant, meditate on his name, is what our duty. Our duty is not to understand God. I mean, we can't understand calculus, and you think you would understand God. So I mean, it's something that's beyond. I mean, we have so many spiritual leaders that actually still can't understand God. So our purpose is to chant on his name, worship, pray, live with congregation, and live basically a really decent human life. I mean, no crimes, try not to, cheat, steal, no interest. Actually, when you lend somebody money, do not charge them interest. There are a lot of things like, the big belief is if you think that God, if you say God is everywhere, it's in everything. And that's where the part of eating no meat comes in, because if you really think, saying something versus believing is two big things. So if you really, really believe God is in everything, I have God in me, it's the same God that's in you, we cannot be enemies, because it's the same. It's the same spiritual power. So we cannot be enemies. We can only be friends. I cannot kill you. You cannot kill me if you see these things. So it just teaches, just to be a decent human being. And, the purpose is to be happy with what you have, share what you have, because once you share it, it just gets bigger and bigger, it gets more. So yay, that's all I have for now.
I think that is all we have.
Is it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Questions, please do ask questions. So many questions.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. I know it's too much. I mean, there's so many things to talk about, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. What questions are there?
I'm curious about how much English is used in the temple. Do you, like Michelle, it sounds like you maybe don't just use English, like when you're chanting and stuff there, what language do you use?
So I identify as Methodist. I never converted to Sikhism. Chandan will never convert to Christianity, and he's Sikh. One of the great things about the Sikh faith is that because they believe that there is one God, they respect churches as a house of worship and a house where God dwells, the same way that they would respect the temple being a house of worship for God. So Chandan could come into your church, for example, and worship God in the same way that that he would worship in his own home temple. Like, faiths are a lot like languages. Some people are very great at being able to fully express themselves in their native language, and they can write beautiful poetry. They can create wonderful things. There are some people who know multiple languages and can express themselves in that way. Some people are not so great at writing, and that's just kind of where they are, and they're learning those things. And so faith is a lot like that, where some people can express themselves in multiple faiths. Some people are not interested in or not willing to follow sort of deeply. And then I feel like I express my devotion to God most fully through Methodism, which is similar to the faith that I grew up in, which is Nazarene. Chandan will always feel more comfortable worshiping God through Sikhism.
But I mean, when we go to temple, as I mentioned, especially when the environment is so amazing, during Christmas Eve, it's like, I know wherever a congregation is, God is present there. You know, he's present. He, she, whatever you believe in is present there, because if God is in all of us, it will be there regardless.
Yeah.
And it just uplifts your spirituality and yourself. And that's what I found when we go to a Methodist church. We actually have gone to a couple of Catholic churches too, in Washington when I visited my cousin. So the feeling is the same, the calmness, the peace. And you can say whatever language you want to pray, and God understands all languages.
Yeah.
And languages are for us. Religion is literally are for us. So we can say, oh, I belong to this one. Oh, I belong to this one. But the goal is God himself or herself.
To answer your original question, which is what language do Sikhs conduct their services in? Almost all Punjabi. I don't think I've ever heard anyone even do Katha, which is like the preaching in English. It's all Punjabi.
Yeah. There have been 10 teachers, 10 gurus whose spiritual knowledge has been passed down. But in Guru Granth Sahib, in the holy book, only Sikhs have registered their prayers, the ones that they got from the God, and others are some Muslims and some also Hindu. So they showed by leading by examples, like we do believe in equality. So if they were to put all 6 or all 10, it wouldn't have been an equality. So whoever said God's name was also registered in the holy book.
Yeah. I don't find that not understanding everything that's being said or goes on around me affects my ability to worship fully when I'm at the Sikh temple. And I think some of it has to do with that free form, drop in, drop out worship that Sikhs do. So I think if I was sitting through like 4 hours of preaching and it was a very strict, like you show up at this time, you leave at this time, it's awkward if you get up, everyone's looking at you like, oh my God, what did the pastor say that offended you? And so it's not like that at all. I mean, even when we were getting married, people were coming in and sort of standing in front of us and bowing down to the holy book and then going about their usual service time. And it was just fine.
Yeah.
So, you know, I go into the sanctuary and I sit and relax and meditate, even if I don't understand what's going on. And then I leave when I want to go to the Langar Hall because the food is delicious. And then I spend as much time as I want to there. And it's not this like trapping feeling, which is really great. So I think if I didn't understand what was going on, it would be a little bit different of an experience, but it's always been very pleasant.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm very shameless when it comes to churches too. I leave when I want to leave, and it has nothing to do with who's preaching, except one time. Sorry. But it's like, I mean, if nature calls, I have to go. Or if the baby's running out of the door, I'm sorry, but I have to go get her before, she hits a car or anything. So yes, you would see me going bye-bye and coming back, with respect, of course.
I don't think you left that service because you're offended. I think you left because the vocabulary that they were using was so like Bible school niche that we didn't understand it. And we were like, oh, the sun is shining. It's beautiful outside.
Yeah. So more questions, please. Yes.
Peter had a question.
How is your faith accepted in its country of origin, and compare that maybe to here in the States or other parts of the world? Do you find that the dominant culture in India is welcoming to your faith? Do you find that potentially being a minority in the country is causes some kind of substandard behavior? I mean, can you just speak to the acceptance of the world around you for your faith?
Yeah, sure. Really awesome question. So apparently, if you Google or search, the fifth largest religion in the world is actually Sikhism. We don't
Okay.
hear much about it because it's Christianity, Islam, Hinduism. We have Buddhism that no, and then Sikhism. So at the time when Sikhism started, everybody was elevated spiritually. So they could understand what somebody else is coming from, and it was easy at the time. But as the time passed, new ideas get introduced. Uh, there is a belief of four jug. Jug basically are eras. So first, second, third, and fourth. We are on in the fourth era. So if you believe that yes, the earth is gonna go bye bye sometime, this is the era because it's Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga, everything, brother kills brother, father kills daughters. It's like all the chaos that could go wrong it's going in this era. So different people introduce different ideas. Going back to your question, is like in India, it's accepted, but as long as you don't interfere with my religion, I'm okay with you. As soon as you started preaching, trying, converting people, it's really like I shouldn't talk ill about Hinduism, but the main cause of fights in India is because of Hinduism, and it's not the Islam. And so Sikhs are in the north side, North India, and that's where we reside mostly because that's the region of Punjab, which is close to Pakistan. Before Punjab was so big, it was entire India, Pakistan, including Afghanistan. All of that was Pakistan, and then it got divided after the
Punjab,
king.
sorry.
Yeah, Punjab. After the king died, Afghanistan got divided, and then Pakistan.
The Golden Temple used to sit directly in the middle of the state of
Yeah.
Punjab in India. And now it actually sits right on the border between India and Pakistan.
India
It's
and
literally a mile away. Yeah.
And acceptance here in the United States, it's okay. I mean, I haven't found a resistance to it towards my religion. It's just like sometimes one of those incidents when incidents when the Twin Tower happened. The turban, oh, he must be the terrorist, the Muslim. So the turban doesn't belong to one group of people. Africans wear turban, Indians wear turban, Muslims wear turban. Who else wear turban? Yogis wear turban. So there is on our it's actually our duty too is to make public aware if they have any questions like, hey, we are not allowed to say is like, I'm not Muslim. The first thing, if you ask, hey, are you Muslim? No, I'm not Muslim. There is a way about like, because then if I say, oh, I'm not Muslim, then you're making Muslim as a target of your hate. So it's a very fine line. I maybe twice have experienced, hate towards me, and this was during 9/11, and there was one more time the guy just didn't like my beard. So I mean it happens, but I am I don't back I don't back down personally, because it's just me. That's my behavior. Is if you have a question, I would love to explain or answer that question, because the more people ask me questions about my religion, the more I know about my own religion. So it's a win-win for me. I can explain little things to you, and if I don't get it, I can find the answer. And it just makes me more aware of my own religion, the existence of things that we talk about. In the United States, we have really big communities. Fremont, Fairfield, Sacramento, San Jose, those are really big Sikh communities. So people are aware of us. I mean, that's why I could do a ponytail or tie my beard. I don't do that anymore. So people are aware that there are other people do exist in the community.
On an individual level, like Chandan came to the United States when he was 19 years old, and you really honed your English after you got here. Like you knew some English, right?
Yeah, just barely. Yeah.
I've read your letters, yeah. And the fluency that you gained once you got to the United States too. Most people, when you talk to someone on the street, assume that you were born here, and I feel like that diffuses a lot of tensions. Like I've actually seen it happen before, where someone will shout something out at him that's like deeply offensive, and then you've said something just really snarky and like a very American accent back at that person, and it stops them and it makes them turn around and come back towards us, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta bust out the pepper spray now, like, you know what's gonna happen. And then like
but there have
been people who have apologized and just said like, hey, sorry, I'm having a bad day. And it's like, well, I don't know why that translates to being racist, but
but at least the person was calm after that.
Yeah, it diffuses it, like and that's part of like Sikhism, just sort of in general how it operates. Like the temple in Anderson, which is just south of Reading, got vandalized probably 6 years ago, maybe something like that. And their response to that was to host an open house where they gave langar to the community, invited anybody to come in. They translated a lot of the text so that people could see what they were talking about, and just invited people to come through.
So basically free food, mass. Yeah. Free
food. Yeah. I mean, that's their response to everything. Like whenever the Sikh temple in Yuba City does Nagar Kirtan, which is in November, which they weren't able to do this year because of the pandemic, but if they resume doing that, I highly recommend that. It's they bring the holy book out of the temple. There's free food on the street. 100,000 people descend upon Yuba City over the course of that weekend every year. It's really intense, but it's a lot of fun. And there are like street preachers preaching about Christianity and how these people are going to go to hell, like right there. And then their response is to just be like,
do you want some food?
You want some food?
Some food. I mean, what? It's like the person is set in their way. So there's a story. This saint he was walking by and he saw a scorpion. Very similar story, of course, the many have. Drowning in the water, and he tries to pick it up and he gets stung. So his disciple looks at him, like, he got stung, and it drops, the scorpion drops in the water again. So he grabs it the second time and he gets stung again, and he reaches for the third time, and the disciple's like, whoa, what are you doing? It's stinging you. Why don't you just let it die? And I was like, well, it's an animal who doesn't have any brain to think like we do. And if it cannot change its way, I should change my way because I'm more mature. So the third time, of course, he got stung, but it took him out. So it's like, if somebody is set in their ways, don't try to change them. Just offer them what you can. That's it.
Yeah. And by changing your way too, that doesn't necessarily, some people in the United States who are Sikhs will sort of bow to the overall pressure and cut their hair and try to look more Americanized, basically, or westernized, and that's how they respond to that pressure and changing. Chandan is probably one of the most chill people about people being rude to you that I've ever met. Like,
yeah, it really doesn't bother me. I mean, it's like I don't know what they're going through, and I don't need to know. I don't want to know. But if you say hi, I will say hi. If you say bye, I will say bye. And if you say the naughty word, I will say the naughty word back at you. Which reminds me, it's really quiet. So we need to check on our daughter.
No, I gave her the iPad.
Oh, okay, yeah. She's occupied. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. More questions, please. I hope I answered your question, maybe as much as I understood.
Oh, you did a great job, but I had one that is almost borders on theology.
Oh, by all means, yeah, sure.
And I'm going to ask Robin to help me out. But you earlier in your talk mentioned the belief in predestination.
Yes.
And my understanding of my faith is we do have certain Christian legs of the family, if you will, or arms of the family that are very focused on predestination. And we have other traditions that are less so. So maybe, Robin, if you could address, Chander's, discussion of predestination and how it maybe meshes with some of the theology of our faith.
Yeah, so it is different. So because we don't have a sense that like everything is written in destiny ahead of time, but that what we do and what we choose makes an impact. But we do have that similar idea that God's presence is through all of it, and that God is constantly drawing out of even the most difficult and negative experience. God is drawing out from that goodness. So I really connected with that piece of what you said. But you're right, Peter. There are other branches of or denominations of Christianity that have a strong predestination element.
And I just to kind of preface this too, because I understand some of that point as well, just so that you can answer the question. But some of the tricky parts of predestination can be like, something horrible has happened to me. I lost my child has passed away, or I've lost a family member, and there's this deep grief that's associated with that. When you start talking about predestination, one of the ways that you can get hung up on it is this, like, why did God want that to happen to me? Why did God want to punish me in that way? And it becomes almost this very like Job experience of like, lost my house, like the deepest things that were the most meaningful to me have happened to me. And I'm in like the deepest depths of despair. God is supposed to be perfect and wonderful and love and grace. And I don't understand why this is happening to me. So I'm going to let Chandan take over how Sikhism kind of deals with that very tricky part.
So the belief is everything is said with an example, not by just stories. So it happened to Gautam Buddha too, like Mahatma Buddha, who started the religion Buddhism. There was a woman whose son has passed away and her husband has passed away. She lost her house. But she was more grieved about, like, she was grieving about her son's death. And she was like, you're supposed to be, she asked Gautam Buddha is like, you're supposed to be a son of God, and you're supposed to have his power. Wake my son, bring him back to life. And he was like, I will do it gladly in a second. As soon as you give me a piece of bread from a house that nobody has died in. So she goes through the whole village, and everybody's like, oh, my mom died yesterday, like this week ago, my husband died a month ago. So the thing is, everybody has lost somebody. The sooner you realize it's not your own individual pain, yes, it is because you're attached to that person, and that's where the attachment comes in. It's like, nobody's telling you to distance yourself from your loved ones, but understanding the main goal is they will not go with you. When you go, your good deeds will, your worship, your knowledge of God will go with you. I really wish I would more in tune with my faith and understood the Holy Book more in depth, so I could explain these answers, because I watch on YouTube a lot of preachers explaining these things, but like the words escape me sometimes because I'm like, that's just me. And I tell everybody, it's not anybody's religion's shortcoming. It's just shortcoming of me and other people who cannot explain this phenomena. So if and it's going to happen, it's destined. Everybody around you will perish. You will perish. The sooner you get in terms with it, the better. And the whole point is to spend quality time with them. Choirs, singing. But yeah, it just gets really tricky because I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, all I can do is just spend as much time as quality time with Michelle. You don't know what's going to happen the next second. I could have a heart attack and pass away. So if it's written, it will happen. And everything happens for a good reason. We just realize it later on. It's like, there are a few things here and there that is different. The only thing that you can do is pray. Apparently, in Sikhism, everything is written in destiny for you. But the only thing you can change is when you go in the choir and chant with the choir itself, then you can make changes. And changes towards God, not, oh, I want a big house or, a car, because all you're bringing is more bills in your life. Nobody needs that. I don't know. That's why it's like, be happy with what you have and thank God with every bite you swallow, every food, every person in your life. I don't know. Sorry. I wish I could explain more. It's like,
No,
it's a really hard belief, because we want to, like, it's just a difficult and uncomfortable place to be in, because we want to have someone responsible when awful things happen, and God is this force of love and power in our lives for good, and has the ability to intervene in these things. And so there's this pain of why not? So Peter, I understand your question. It's
another thing is, like, everything happens. Lottery, marriage, house, money. I did those things. My son died, you did that. So when bad things happen, we blame God. But good things happen, I did that. You didn't do anything. It was written in your destiny. So happiness and sadness will come and go. The way you can stay strong with your faith, like I was telling Michelle, who was asked to sacrifice his son?
Oh, Abraham.
Abraham was asked to sacrifice his son, and he was about to. And that's what living in God's will is, because if God wants it, he gave you a son, he will take the son away too. So you did not, the belief is you didn't do anything. The only thing you can do is pray. That's it. That's the only freedom we have. We also have the freedom of thinking for ourselves, like doing bad things or not, restraining ourselves from doing bad things to other people. But if you really believe that God resides in everybody, then why would you want to hurt yourself?
Yeah, poison your temple.
Yeah.
Anyways, did anyone have any other questions, or did I answer your question?
I think the last question or comment, did you have one?
I just wanted to thank you. I interacted with another Sikh in 72. We were in a hotel in Italy. We were both working long hours and our families were in the hotel. We saw each other in passing, but I came away in a short time with the understanding that we both worship the same God.
Thank you.
Without a doubt.
There is
no doubt. We are brothers in the Lord. And I want to thank you for making that clear.
Thank you. Thank you for understanding me. At least one person got it. Yeah. Yes. So, like, the problem occurs when we get hung up on one spiritual leader, because there is somebody above them. So it's like, when you go to a doctor, you don't tell the registered nurse to check your wounds. You want to see the doctor. So, if you just get treated by the registered nurse, yeah, it's a temporary, but the doctor will fix it. So that's literally God. We can call God with different names. Muslim call him with Allah, we call him God. Christians call him God. We call him Vaheguru or Guru. So Guru also is teacher and also is God. There's interchangeable, depends on what you're reading and what's written.
Yeah. Like when I was growing up as a Nazarene pastor's kid, the question that I often got was like, well, why would Jesus only come to save, this small group of people? But there are people in other countries where maybe the message hasn't reached them yet, and they've lived and died, and then that's been unfortunate that maybe they're not saved. And I feel like even C.S. Lewis has talked on this as well. And I don't remember what he said, but it's been a topic of conversation.
He used actually the scripture that we had in our worship this morning, which was when Jesus says, "I have sheep of another flock, who they know my voice, and there will be." So in the end of all things, there will be one flock.
Right.
Yeah.
So Sikhism really believes that Zoroaster was walking around preaching the message of God, and he was able to reach some people and others. The Jewish prophets reached some people with the message of God and didn't reach others. Christianity has reached some. Islam has reached some. Sikhism has reached some. Baha'i has reached some.
Buddhism has reached
some. There are many, many ways to worship God, and that there's no right or wrong way to do it.
But if you're a scholar, think about what they said. Every single religion says there's one God. So we know there is a God, so that thing, and it just teaches you how to be a good human being. Yeah. Whether you're Christian, Buddhism, Buddhist, Sikh, Muslim. If you are a Muslim, be the best Muslim you can be in your religion. If you are a Christian, be the best Christian you can be. Follow in footsteps. We say a lot of things. I do too. I say a lot of things that, my religion tells me to say, but it's really hard to put myself in the discipline. So that's why I'm starting with prayers. A really big thing is no lying. If you started lying, and how can you say God's name? So what's the truth and what's the lie? So we are encouraged not to lie, cheat, or swindle somebody with money, hurt other people. And I'm pretty sure Christianity says about that a lot. Ego is a big thing in Sikhism. If you're the top of your pinnacle of spirituality, and you have ego, you are nothing. You are not recognized in Sikhism, because Sikhism does not tolerate ego. Ego is I did this, I'm doing this, I won this, I did this. And it teaches you're nothing. You're just basically a drop in the ocean. After you die, where that stuff goes, nowhere, and it teaches you to be humble. That's why when I say, everything is written and it's given to you by God. So thank God. Don't take anything for granted. So I was talking to Mary Lee, and she told me that over the dinner that Christianity teaches against ego. We divide when you say, oh, it's his, it's mine, it's hers. That's when you start dividing. Even as a child, it's his toys. So when my niece comes over, we tell Jasnoor, it's like, no, it's not your toy. We gave you this toy to share with your siblings, with your cousins. And I think that's the point. Christianity teaches the same thing. And Mary Lee was just sad that, they don't say that more often in the choir. So I don't know. I mean, that's something that Mary Lee and I can, talk more about. More questions? Yes, please.
Thank you so much, Chandan. It's just been wonderful to learn about the Sikh faith, but also specifically to see it through your eyes and through the way in which it forms and strengthens you and makes you the person that you are. It's just really been inspiring. And I think one of the things that I've also enjoyed is the way in which, everyone has mentioned things that connect with our own experience of faith, and in hearing your very open and deep and beautiful witness to your life and faith encourages and reminds us of what has been important to us in our faith as well. And so we are enriched through conversation and through this.
Well, so am I. Yeah, seriously. It's like beautiful people I get to share this beautiful afternoon you know,
Yeah,
with
it's
you
wonderful.
guys.
Well, and
Blessed.
I'm excited. I would love to come visit the temple at some time, and would love to, invite anybody who's joining us today, who's interested. I would just, I think that would be really, really fun
Yeah,
to.
they are actually doing a mass vaccination at the temple too. So
Great.
I think by May, everybody who needs vaccination will be vaccinated. So, we still wear our masks inside. Doors are open. It gets chilly, but you deal with it.
Yeah, and we can get the bus from the Methodist Church if more than one person wants to come and do
Yeah.
a group ride.
I want to go. I want to go.
All right.
Time is up.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Field trip.
All right.
Woo-hoo.
Well,
Yeah, let me know.
thank
We can
you.
arrange things, and we'll just go in a big group, and we can visit the El Sobrante Gurdwara Sahib,
That's the
temple.
prettier of the temples.
Well, all temple are pretty. It's just
Their
we're-
decoration's a little bit more
yes,
on
it is.
point.
It is. So we can do a field trip on Sunday. Don't worry, I'm not gonna make you guys stay there from 6 a.m. till 2. We'll go around 11 or 12, and then sit for like half an hour or so, and mingle with people. Everybody's very welcome, just like any other church that we go to.
How about the great food? I want the
Yeah,
great
yeah.
No. Food comes
They
with.
will that as well.
So this is what the temple tells you actually, is to go eat food first and then go to the sanctuary, because if you're hungry, you cannot concentrate on the word of God. So feed yourself, be happy, then come over there and relax and just chill. Just listen to God, what God has to say. And at El Sobrante, we do have a overhead projector, so whatever they're singing and preaching, it would translate.
Sometimes, yeah.
Oh, great. Okay.
When
Wow.
Justine's there to
Yeah.
run it. Sorry, that's his ex-girlfriend.
All right.
She
All
runs
right.
the slides.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Really. Thank you very much for sharing time with us.
Absolutely, and thank
Thank
you,
you.
Michelle.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Goodbye.
No, click off this.